So could you let us know your name and the program you went on?
Yeah, my name is Danielle Levinson, and I went on the Chile Public Health and Traditional Medicine program in spring of 2018.
And what did you like about the program?
I really liked the ISP. I think that was the best part, and I think I grew the most during that part because I'd never done an extended research project before. And not only did it give me the tools to start a research project on my own and to communicate as a professional with people in a foreign community, it also let me get to know the community that I was living in, at least an aspect of the community that I was living in, better. And it was really interesting to practice my Spanish and get to know people in a field that I was interested in, and really interesting to hear their perspectives as well on a topic that I found really compelling.
Great. And tell us more about what you did for your research and your independent study.
Yeah. I researched resilience factors in victims of the Pinochet dictatorship. And the Pinochet dictatorship had occurred in Chile. It started 40 years before, before I came there, and it had ended about 20 years before I came there. So it was kind of recent in their history. And yeah, I got to talk to a few survivors of the not really really intense political violence, but survivors of that who had been really active during that period in the opposition. And that really opened my eyes to a different culture, a different history, and they were just really great people to meet too.
Wow, that must have been amazing to have access to them.
Yeah.
And what did you like about the program? What other aspects did you like?
I really like the homestay as well. I think that the homestay was probably the best opportunity to get to know the culture, because you weren't just with the way that the families worked in Chile. The culture was that you didn't just really get to know the like nuclear family. You also get to know the extended family, because my extended family, this isn't true for all the families, but for a lot of them, there are extended family members living in that same small city. And so we visited them every weekend. We visited the father side of the family as well as the mother side of the family. So you really get to know. And even though I didn't have any host siblings who were around my age in the house, I had host cousins who were around my age, and I got to talk to them about like what life was like in the university and what the culture was like for like teenagers there. So it was really like you kind of like not only is an opportunity to get to know the other culture like firsthand, but you also like gain another family in another country, and at the end they welcome you back, like if you want to visit again, you have a family there. So that was a really special experience.
Great. And tell us about the director.
The director, it was his first semester being director. He'd been involved in the program before. He was the methodology professor. And so I think that he did a really good job of managing the program. There are definitely things to work on, but basically he had just inherited the program from past directors. So I think that for our first semester and kind of figuring out what he wanted to improve, I was really impressed by him. I think that in following semesters, the program's going to look different, because he was really open to listening to our suggestions, and it seemed like there were a lot of ideas that he had himself for how the program could improve. So I wouldn't be surprised if the experience for students who do the program in the future would be somewhat different from my experience.
Great. And what do you feel like? How were the locals in Eureka?
Sorry, what did you say?
How were the locals? How was what was it like living in Eureka?
In Arica, it was really nice. It's the only program in Chile where you're not living in a big city. Like Valparaiso is a bigger city. It's the main port city of Chile, And Santiago is, of course, the capital, and 25% of the Chilean population lives there. And Arica has about 200,000 people, I think even less than that. So it was a really calm city. It was by the ocean. Sometimes there was an omega-3 fish factory there, so sometimes you got like a waft. There's a lot of winds, so you got a lot like a waft of the smell of the fish being processed. I would say that that was kind of like a unique. It was kind of funny, but yeah, it's a really interesting city. You kind of feel like it's your own because it's so small and like everything is familiar and it's easy to walk to different places, and public transportation is usually in small cities in the U.S. public transportation is really hard because you don't have a subway, and there are so many taxis. But even though this city was smaller, the public transportation was wonderful. They have these taxis that are really cheap. That like they're called colectivos, and you kind of like they kind of like have a set route, and so it's like a smaller bus. Everybody kind of goes on if they knew that their stop is along that route. And they also have buses as well in the public transportation, and private taxis if you want to go to a specific place. So public transportation is great. And there are also a lot of things to do. You wouldn't expect that. I mean, compared to Santiago, there aren't so many things to do, but it's like nature things. So there's the morro, which is kind of like the symbol of Arica. It's this like big, I don't know if you call it a hill. There might be some geographical term that you can walk up. You can also drive up, and from there you get a panoramic view of the city. There's the caves. Just like really beautiful formation. There are hummingbirds everywhere. It's kind of like, it kind of feels like paradise. They call it the city of eternal spring, and it's in desert, which is also very strange. So it's like a port city, but it's also desertic, and it never rains. So the whole time, it never rained once while we were there. I think after we left, it did rain a little bit, but it rains like once or twice a year. It was really fun to be there, and plus it's a safe city. Not all parts are incredibly safe, but all of the areas where we had homestays were definitely the safer parts, and I did not feel uncomfortable at all walking around at night if I had somebody else with me. So yeah, there's a sense of security and a sense of familiarity, and yeah, it was a really nice place. Some students are actually saying that like it's a good place to raise a family. Like they might even want to like live there after they finish college, because it is so calm and tranquil.
Yeah, great. And what would you tell students who are thinking about doing the program?
I would tell them that the one thing that was difficult about the program was that we tended to be kind of restricted on what I could do because of the schedule was so packed with stuff. So when we were in Santiago, we had 5 days in Santiago, but we had very little time to explore. So if you're someone who really, really doesn't like structure and wants a little bit more freedom with their study abroad program, and Arica is kind of isolated. Like it's really hard to get to even though there's stuff to do in the city, and there's a lot of nightlife. It's hard to explore different cities around because the closest large city is like 5 hours away driving. So that can be kind of hard. But I would say that the reason why it's so structured is because we have so many opportunities to learn during the program that you wouldn't get in any other program, like particularly in terms of traditional medicine, because we got to speak with people like indigenous healers in a 100-person town in the mountains. We got to speak to Mapuche traditional healers, kind of like the culture is kind of dying off, so there aren't very many of them left. And yeah, we got to do a lot of visits to hospitals, to primary care centers. Yeah, we got to see a lot of really diverse settings, and all of that scheduling. And we got very interesting classes too, with a whole variety. We had like 20 or 25 professors during the whole program, because almost every class we had a different professor for. So we got to hear a lot of different perspectives. And to plan all of that, you need a really to kind of like cram everything in and make sure that you can have those opportunities. You need a really structured schedule. So a lot of people were a lot of students in my program were complaining about that. But I think we also understood that it was a huge benefit too, because in no other study abroad program would you have the opportunity to interact with the people that we got to interact with, or see the kinds of healthcare settings, get the kind of experience with public health in a different setting that we had. And I think, I think that that was probably that was another really big takeaway from the program.
Great, excellent. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I think that's good.
Great, thank you so much for talking. That was so helpful.
Yeah.